morning, everybody. Welcome to City Life. I'm Linda Bown. I'm going to be your host. I have my town manager, Colin Loiselle from Tyngsborough, which I'm very happy about. We got a lot going on in Tyngsborough. Let's start with the firehouse, which I'm glad to see that's moving along.
Yeah, long overdue. We've been talking about the need to replace our existing headquarters on Kendall Road for far longer than I've been in the mix, certainly. Our efforts really started in full swing in 2020. We started to look at the need for a new public safety building. Financially, that's just really not, we don't feel like the town can afford a public safety building right now. As you are acutely aware and every resident knows, we just started paying the debt on the new middle school, which fortunately was completed on time and $3 million under budget, so there's some good news there. So we've pivoted, and our fire station was built many years ago, way before we were a full-time department.
Yes.
And so that Kendall Road station, which is our headquarters, it's the only station that's staffed in town. We have 2 other outlying stations that store apparatus only.
Yeah.
And none of them were ever built for firefighters to occupy the space. It was meant to store apparatus.
Oh, it's all volunteers at that time.
All volunteers at that time. So now, we have serious health issues with our station. There's no area for firefighters to decontaminate when they get back from a scene.
Oh.
They're washing their clothes in the same area where they're eating, in the same area where they're sleeping. And that site, you're familiar with that area very much. There's nowhere to expand on the site. No. The site is a postcard stamp. So in May of last year, town meeting gave us $300,000 to do a schematic design. The plan calls for it to be built on the Winslow School parcel, to demolish the Winslow School. And, we know that you've been around this topic for a while. The Winslow School is a third rail subject in town politics in Tyngsborough. But I think that we're at a point where people realize that we just simply don't have the financial means to preserve every building in town. But there are things we can do, and we published a set of renderings not too long ago that show we're really trying to incorporate architectural elements of the Winslow School in a new fire station so that we can pay homage to the Winslow School. And there are a bunch of things we can do. I mean, I met with the Garden Club recently. They suggested using some of the foundation from the Winslow School to create some sort of garden in the front of the.
How
so there
nice.
are all kinds of things that we can do.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because it could be a nice area, and it will add. I mean, it will add to the walking center.
Exactly. Part of the site
buildings.
Yeah, part of the site plan calls for us to connect that parcel to the new parking lot we built on Kendall Road across from the existing fire station, behind the Evangelical Church.
Okay.
And if you've ever been to
that makes sense.
It does, and we use that. The Winslow School parking lot is used for parking for every major event that we have in the town center. So this project calls for there to be more than enough parking. It's not just parking for the fire station. The Littlefield Library will stay on the site, so there'll be enhanced parking there. It will really be a finishing touch, if you will, on our town center and address what is really a critical need for our firefighters.
It will. Now, tell me about the Littlefield Library. Is that open? I know the Historical Society still meets there, correct?
Yeah, the Historical Commission meets there once a month. They've been really good about allowing us to incorporate it into our Festival of Trees. So
yes, and it's lovely.
It is lovely. And it's really cool to get people, most people don't have an opportunity to get into the Littlefield Library because they don't go to the Historical Commission meetings at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so opening it up for Festival of Trees has really given people an opportunity to see the library. Many people haven't ever been inside. I mean, it's been closed for 26 years now?
Yeah.
So we would love to do more. We've talked over the years with our library about opening it as a satellite location a few hours a week or a few days a week. Of course, all of that requires staffing, and budgets are tight right now, so it's not come to fruition, but it's a beautiful building. And
a nice reading room.
Absolutely.
Type of thing.
Yeah, a little study space.
Because that's why I studied for all through college there.
Yeah.
It was just fabulous. It was just the only thing was it's very dicey getting out of there onto Middlesex Road.
It is. The one, not one positive, there's a lot of positives, but one of the ancillary benefits of us constructing a fire station there is some intersection tweaks.
Okay.
The driveway would be widened, the line of sight, that hill where the gazebo is by the Littlefield Library makes the visual, if you're going to take a right, it makes it difficult. It also makes it hard to see traffic coming north. As a part of this site, we would level that area, so you'd have a better line of sight.
That's good.
And there would be a signalized intersection But that would only be for when you see that at every fire station nowadays. When the fire trucks leave, the traffic on Middlesex would stop, so the engines can.
Where does the gazebo go?
The gazebo will stay. It's far enough
Okay.
in that it won't need to come down.
That whole hill, of course, it's granite. I mean, you can't do much about it.
No, and there's a lot of ledge. And this is, John, thank you so much. This is.
Isn't that lovely?
No. This is
John.
a rendering of what a new fire station on the Winslow School parcel could look like. This has been available on the town's website for a few weeks now. A couple of the things I'd point out. Driving on Middlesex Road, the only part of that building you would see is that front office building, the one that you can tell there's, architectural components of the Winslow School. It really fits the historic town center that we have. We were very cognizant that we couldn't just drop a modern-looking fire station that was all glass on this parcel. On the back side, you have your traditional garage bays that are masonry, but you would really only see that if you were coming up the driveway to the parcel. So all you'd see from the front is the giant flagpole, and you would see the administrative building, which, the architects hit this right out of the park with really understanding that we had to be cognizant of the town center. And there's so many elements. If you look at it, the gable on top, the columns in the front really do pay homage to the Winslow School. And I think, our beautiful additions to the site, this is what you would see coming over the bridge, whereas right now you see, unfortunately, the Winslow School that's been left in some pretty bad shape.
Yeah. I went to the Winslow School, and I can't say that I'm sentimental about the school. I don't know who is. Are you sentimental about your grammar school? Is it still standing even?
It is still standing. Actually, I went to St. John Dark, and Lowell Public Schools, I think, took it over.
Yeah.
I think I understand. Warren Allgrove, who's the chair of our historical commission, and we talk all the time. And I think that a lot of it has to do with the pride the historical commission feels in the work they did in the first parish and the Old Town Hall, which are remarkable buildings. I mean, and from my understanding, talking to Augie and other people involved, that was an uphill battle. There were a lot of people who thought, oh, just let the Old Town Hall go. It's riddled with termites. Don't worry about the first parish. And the historical commission and a lot of other residents really stuck to bringing those buildings back to life, and now they're in use constantly.
It's a nice center now.
And I think that,
On this new firehouse,
yeah,
these bays, are they drive-through bays?
they certainly are.
Oh, okay, good.
5 drive-through bays, yeah. One of the things we weren't willing to do away with because the cost savings wasn't as great is the drive-through bays. When you look, it's funny, talking to our insurance carrier, talking to the architects, when you don't do the drive-through bays, you have increased collisions with the building. It's more dangerous for people. We had the room on the site, and again, it didn't add much to the cost. So yeah, they'll all be drive-through bays.
Now, how will they go out? Will they go out onto Kendall?
No, all of the vehicles will exit onto Middlesex Road.
Can they? Is that accessible now from Kendall?
So it is not. This is actually. I had a slight disagreement with the committee, but no one person gets to rule the project, so I was outvoted. I wanted to create a driveway connecting the two parcels. There were some challenges associated with that. The back side of that parcel where the driveway would need to go is all ledge. So you're talking about a lot of expense. What we did do, we added a walkway and a staircase. So the parcels are connected for pedestrian traffic, but all of the vehicular traffic will exit on.
That's a long walk up that hill. That's not
Yeah.
a nice hill.
No, well, and it'll do a switchback type of thing, so it'll be more ramped.
Okay.
It won't be a direct steep, yeah.
Okay. So it cuts it now, and you've got Parkin's house. That's a nice house right there.
Yeah.
So it's Colonel Ting's tomb is at the Housing Authority.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Colonel Ting is not there.
The big mystery, where did Colonel Ting go?
I don't know.
Who took him out of his tomb?
I'm shocked, but when I found out about it, when I started there, I think this spring I want to work with the garden club, and let's do something with that, because it's a nice connection. It's right there in the center, and so I'm sure we can do something.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
We've talked to our
involved with that.
DPW. I know that there's a lot of clearing out that has to be done before it can be beautified, so this spring, that's a great... When we were there, Secretary Augustus from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities toured the Housing Authority. That must have been November when our new executive director started, maybe October. And I talked to a few residents who talked about how people from other neighborhoods would drive to the Housing Authority around Halloween to show their kids the tomb.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess at one point it was totally accessible. You could open the latch and see inside. So we have to clear that out.
We
'cause
need
that
to
is a
work,
gem.
and Lizzie Borden was there.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know
Yes,
that.
yes, she did.
Oh my.
So there's
The
some
more you know.
fun history to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Remarkable.
yeah. Wachterman came to Tyngsborough to
Yeah. Oh,
to
man.
vacation afterwards. No, yeah, she was there a couple of times. And there are newspaper renderings about it. So her coming to Tyngsborough.
Really?
So
Look at that. We have made the map.
yes, we've arrived. So I think that's going to be a nice touch. What are you going to do with the old fire station?
It's a great question. I get this. I was telling Linda before the show started that one of the things we've prioritized is public outreach. So we had 7 public information sessions. We've started going to community groups. We have a bunch of groups that meet in town, the Garden Club, the different political parties. And undoubtedly, every time the first question we get is, what about the current station? The current station sits on a site that is likely not ideal for redevelopment. So, sometimes people ask, well, can you sell that and use the money to help lower the costs? You're familiar with that area. It's residential behind it. It's a very small site. In all likelihood, there are 2, I think, most feasible paths. One is to just tear the building down and make a nice, clean parking lot. Town center parking is always our biggest complaint. Or our sewer division of our DPW currently rents garage space on Middlesex Road.
That's right.
And they don't live in the station, so a lot of the concerns we're trying to address for the fire department don't apply to sewer. And since we own that station outright, it would be cost effective for us to try to move them there.
Well, it's an enterprise. Sewer is an enterprise.
Yes.
Isn't it? And so is the water. Maybe they both could move in there.
Yeah.
You wanna read this to the audience?
Okay, good morning. When it comes to building a new fire station in the state of Massachusetts, does the state require some sort of green energy plan?
The answer is yes in some form. Tyngsborough has not adopted the super stretch code. So there's 2, and I'm not an expert on this, I just know what I know from talking to the architects. There's really 2 levels of this green code. There's the basic stretch code, which Massachusetts law requires that you follow, and that's what Tyngsborough has. Some other communities, think your Arlington, Somerville, Cambridge, they've adopted the super stretch. And those are the types of policies that, I believe, say, like, you can't have gas stoves. We're not at that point in Tyngsborough. So we would only have to follow the simple stretch code. One of the conversations that the committee has had is whether or not nowadays they drive you to do all electric for your buildings. But that can be more costly.
Yes, it
There are
can.
some initial cost savings up front, so we haven't decided yet. I think the committee has expressed a desire to really dive deeper into using gas. It's generally more cheaper. Our new middle school is all electric, and the utility bills are incredibly high.
That's right. Back in the 70s, when we had the first oil crisis, they said everybody should go electric. Not a good look afterwards.
I mean, and one of the challenges we're seeing on other projects in town is that there's an electrical capacity issue.
Yes. Yes.
And so, we need development. I would hate to use all of the energy on a fire station and then pay much more money for it. So the committee hasn't made a decision yet. I do believe that the state would require, if you go with a gas building, I think there are certain things you have to do during the construction so that in the future you could switch to all electric. And we'll do it, we'll do a full analysis of that.
What do they think you use to make electricity?
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time trying to explain trying to understand how the state makes decisions, and I have come up dry every
Yes.
single time.
Yeah. It's definitely not an easy take. So, well, that's good. I'm just envisioning the center now, and I think that will work.
I think it's an incredible touch. And real quickly, just going back to the Historical Commission, they should be commended for the tenacity, if you will, to save those 2 buildings. And I think
Absolutely.
I think seeing the success with that, they really have a big vision for the Winslow School. I think, unfortunately, the practicality of it is tough. We looked in 2022 at converting the Winslow School into a new town hall. That's just an office building. That's your simplest use, nothing fancy.
Yeah.
And it was $13 million in 2022.
Wow.
It's 4 years later. CPC is the funding source we use for historic preservation. CPC has about $1.2 million in cash on hand every year, so they don't have enough money. They can borrow money, but with their cash on hand, they can't afford the debt service on more than $3 million. So without an actual tax increase on residents, there's simply no practical way to preserve the Winslow School and address all of our other needs. The unfortunate thing is you have competing interests here. We need a new fire station. We didn't want to buy land because that adds to the project costs, and taxpayers are already paying enough in taxes. And so we were kind of forced to look at the only parcel that works. I do think when people see the finished product, there will still be people who will be disappointed that the Winslow is gone, but hopefully they can see our efforts to memorialize it in whatever way we can.
Well, perhaps an artist will do a rendering of it.
Yeah. I mean,
We can reach out for that.
We've heard tossed around naming it the Winslow Fire Station. We still have the original Winslow School sign that hung on the front of the building. We can incorporate that. There's so many things that we can do. Again, in full transparency, it won't get the Historical Commission what they're looking for, and I applaud their efforts, but I think it's the most practical approach for the taxpayer.
Well, and also maybe the Rotary or other organizations can raise some money to do another wind vane.
Yeah.
To sort of go with the town hall.
We actually have, for the longest time it was in my office, I think it's in the Littlefield Library now, we have the original weather vane from the Winslow School.
No kidding.
We do,
Oh, then there it is.
It was in the attic when we did the asbestos abatement, so we have it. It's not restored yet, but it certainly
nice.
could be restored and put on a new building.
Oh, I think that would make me happy.
Yeah.
From a historical point
All right,
of view.
well, if it makes Linda happy, then it's in the project.
Oh, work on that. Yeah. No, I think the Garden Club does amazing things in the center of town. They all over town.
They do. They're a great community group.
They really work hard, and so that's all good now. The Sherburne property.
Yes. Another gem of a property in town.
Yes, it is, and most people aren't aware of it. And I would say to anybody, come spring, make a point to take your dog
Absolutely.
and your kids. It's just a beautiful walk. There's a babbling brook.
Mm-hmm.
There are benches. There's a little bridge over the brook. It's just a wonderful place. I don't recommend you go in the summer because it's all ticks.
Yes. Yeah.
Tick City.
It is. There are
Definitely
a lot of ticks.
Tick
Yeah.
City. But it is a beautiful place. And of course, we part of the regulations on that is you have to cut that field
Right.
for the wildlife.
Mhm.
So it's always well kept, and it's a nice. So I've been concerned. I know Ed Derby, the rest of the conservation has been concerned about the building,
Yeah.
and so I'm so happy that we're gonna.
Yeah, that building, my understanding, and I've talked to a lot of people that were involved or that were on the select board when that property was donated to the town, and there was an agreement between the family and the town. We really simply haven't budgeted the money to maintain the building, and up until now, there's been no real use of the building. So you talk about competing interests. If the town hall and library needs a roof, and the Sherburne House needs a roof,
Right.
in our capital planning, of course, the town hall and the library get it. But I'm pleased to share that tonight I'm meeting with the Community Preservation Committee, and they will consider, and I'm optimistic that they'll approve a request to replace the roof. We've had contractors out there over the late fall and into the winter giving us cost estimates. It's not a slate roof, and it's not really a straight shingle roof. It's like an asbestos type shingle, very very bizarre. So we would replace it with a more modern shingle, but a lot of the things that we have to do inside are cosmetic, which our own maintenance staff can do.
Yeah.
We haven't done any of it yet because there are sections of the roof that are in such poor condition that on a really good rain day, the rain is coming into the building. So if that money is approved by CPC, town meeting will consider it in May, and then as of July 1, that money will be available for us to make those repairs.
I've always recommended people that want to give land to a trust in a town, look at that one. It is one of the best trusts I've ever seen. And I recall years ago, one of the boards of selectmen decided they wanted to put some offices over there. And the Sherburnes were very nice about it. They just said, okay, we'll take it back. It's for conservation only.
Yeah.
No argument. And it's all written in there very
Wild.
specifically. So you could have some learning. Use it to teach conservation.
Absolutely.
Issues. It's refreshing to hear a manager of a town in Massachusetts actually talk about the budget. Tyngsborough is lucky to have Mr. Loisele. Yes, we are.
I appreciate that. I think that a lot of times cities and towns get into trouble because they just act like the budget is just a number you create, the money will keep flowing, and we lose track of the fact that people literally can only pay so much in taxes. And we talk about the fire station, that is undoubtedly a tax increase. I think it's a justified one. But like I've said to the select board, the reality is there are residents in Tyngsborough who are simply not able to pay any more in taxes. And so I know there are people, I've talked to them, who are like, yeah, it's terrible that our firefighters are in this old of a building with no proper safety, but I'm tapped out. Unless I stop buying groceries, unless I do this. And I'll get off my soapbox in a second. One of the things that I differ from a lot of my peers on is it's easy for us to say that Prop 2.5 is the problem. It's easy to say, well, nothing goes up 2.5%. That's true. You can't hire people and set collective bargaining agreements at less than 2.5% a year. My argument has been the state of Massachusetts collects enough taxes to simply redirect that money back to cities and towns without raising taxes. Instead, we've allowed this system, and I say this to Representative Gary all the time, we've created a system where the state just continues to put money in their rainy day fund to use on whatever they want to use, and then cities and towns have to be the bad guys who have to go for a Prop 2.5 override, again, on a taxpayer that is already maxed out. I think it's incredibly problematic. If the state, the MMA did a fiscal analysis that showed that over the last 20 years, if the state aid, they call it, which is disingenuous because it's money that we give the state that they give back to us. So calling it state aid drives me through the roof. But if they had kept up with inflation, they would be spending $351 million more every year on local aid. Prop 2.5 wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, you're right.
Prop 2, we wouldn't even have to be at the levy limit. And of course, we'll never get to that point. I'm grateful the state increased our Chapter 90 money last year, and it looks like they will this year. But something has to give at some point because you're seeing more and more of these Prop 2.5 overrides, they fail.
Yes.
Because people simply can't. It's not that they don't want the best services.
Yeah.
They can't afford it.
If you want,
I don't think Bob's ever held public office.
if you want to try and think like the elected officials here in Mass, you have to warp, bend, and twist your mind into a pretzel. And I think you can identify as a pretzel here in Mass. Yeah, it's difficult, and you know it is annoying because they come up with all these taxes that, and they push like for marijuana, and they say you're gonna get this back, and if you're a host city, you're gonna get this fee, and then the next thing they do, they turn around and change
Snatch it away, yeah.
and it's not right, and the public doesn't realize they constantly do that every time they come up, and I'm concerned about these cafes and that type of thing. They'll dangle the same thing out there and say, oh, well, if you sponsor this, then, and then the next thing they turn around, they change it.
Well, the thing is, we know better now, right?
Yeah.
We Tyngsborough was one of the communities. I was I wasn't in charge when we adopted zoning, but I worked here, and so I'm very familiar with the conversation. There were a lot of people who were wary about being one of the first communities to adopt retail marijuana places. And to be totally honest with you, we haven't seen an increase in crime. Traffic on Middlesex Road has always stunk. It's gotten a little bit worse. But the big thing that I heard talked about at town meeting was this 3%, unrestricted 3% host community impact fee and the 3% sales tax. And that's 6% on what was at the time a booming market. And then once everybody adopted it, 5 years later, the state said, we'll keep our share, but you have to go down to 3% now. You can't keep it 6%. It was the most blatant bait and switch ever. And so, to be clear, cafes are still prohibited in Tyngsborough. We would have to proactively amend our zoning to allow it. I know there's no will on the select board to do it. I can't imagine there's a will on the planning board.
No, that's a pretty that's a rocky road.
Yeah.
A very slippery slope. When I don't know how you'd regulate it. It's a very difficult thing. So, but speaking of that area up there, it's really taken off.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to see the TJ Maxx Mall.
They are crushing it. Sam Park did a fantastic job. And we've talked about how responsive they are as a developer.
Yeah.
He was before the select board at the end of January getting 4 new liquor licenses. They've got 4 new restaurants.
Very exciting.
It's really, I mean, to look back, I was talking to somebody the other day about Middlesex Road and some of the traffic issues that we've had. And, you know, in all reality, it wasn't that long ago that all that was in that plaza was Dunkin' Donuts and the Postal Center and the Dollar Tree.
Yeah, yeah.
And now you've got, it's a great place to eat. Metro Rock has taken off, the rock climbing gym. It's not my thing because I'd fall and you wouldn't see me ever again, but people love it. They're there all the time. And even that, the arcade that's in the back of the plaza, it struggled for a while because it was so far back. But now that the parking is kind of redone, they're busy all the time as well.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. And the theater is doing well.
And I haven't been to a movie since probably 2016, 2017, but the theater is still doing very well.
Yeah, I have a friend that's a widow, and we every so often we go meet. That's what we
Nice.
do.
Very nice.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
Go over and have a drink, and it's a nice way to get together.
It is, yeah.
Very nice. So yes, it's all there, and it's good for the families. Some of them, if anybody doesn't know what to do with your children this week,
Yeah.
mosey on up to Tyngsborough and look around.
There's lots to do.
Yeah,
A lot to do.
it just was stagnant for so long, and so, but everything, I don't see a horrible traffic issue there. They do have a policeman when they expect it's going to be busy. You can't fix stupidity, and it's not illegal, unfortunately. So they
Yeah.
people that are going to do a U-turn there and do the wrong
gonna-
thing. you
One of
can't
the things that we've been talking to MassDOT about is potentially studying a road diet for the stretch of Middlesex between 440 and Locust. Our number one accident is people being rear-ended.
Yeah.
And so one of the options that it's certainly not set in stone, you have to do it, the state does a long study process, is right now you've got 2 lanes of traffic north, 2 lanes of traffic south between 440 and Locust. One of the things that we would look to do in this potential study, and again, it's not been signed off on, is change it so that you have one lane of traffic heading in both directions with a dedicated turning lane. The thought process being then all of the people waiting to take a left into Nature's Remedy, or even the car wash now. I mean,
Yeah.
the car wash is
Well, I was just
packed
going to
at
mention,
lunchtime.
what an amazing addition that has been.
Remarkable.
Probably
Now you
more
would-
problem with the traffic there than anywhere.
Certainly. You would traffic if you'd be unimpeded to continue traveling north or south because you
Yeah.
wouldn't, and it would minimize you're not cutting across 2 lanes. So it's something that we're looking at studying.
Yeah, that would work.
I think it would really work.
I mean, you can't fix people that are going to try to zoom across.
Exactly.
But they unfortunately.
Or run across. Those are my favorite. It's like a real life Frogger game. Who
Yes.
thought this was a good idea? I couldn't tell you.
I know. So I'm just very pleased with just how that whole part of the town has developed, and when we signed on to the MBTA issue with the housing, you did a marvelous job with the planning board and all. That's a perfect location. It's not going to impede anybody, and to be truthful, the whole thing is ridiculous because
Totally
we have
agree.
no public
Totally agree.
transportation. If we had public transportation, I could get it, but
Yeah.
it was just it was a scam for them to just hold the towns hostage.
Yeah.
You're not going to get your funding.
I said from the beginning that I thought it was ridiculous. One size fits all doesn't work. I totally agree we need more affordable housing. I think that there are ways to do it, and this was not the way to do it. But one of the things I point to is the success of our zoning, put it in places, like you said, where there would be very minimal impact. If somebody developed the parcel at the Pheasant Lane Mall, which we see as the most likely to be developed in the next 5 or 10 years, you're not talking about a lot of traffic impact.
No, they get right on
off
the highway.
We have capacity in our schools.
Yeah.
But one of the things that, so, I hear a lot of people gripe about the MBTA communities, and I agree with them, but we didn't lose any grant funding because we complied.
Yeah.
You look at some of our peers that are fighting it, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to sue the state, and they're not going to win.
Yeah.
The state always wins. So we did the right thing. It's a compliment to our planning board, which spearheaded the effort.
Oh, yeah, they're way ahead of the mark there, no question about it.
Yeah.
So you did the best of both worlds there, if you're going to have to deal with the state. But I do find them very irritating.
Yeah,
They
I
just-
agree.
Oh, they don't. Joe Espinola, okay. Oh, hey, Mark.
Sir, how are you?
Nice to have
Good to see
the
you.
town manager join the show. Yes, it is. Good morning, everyone. Linda always hosts a great show and asks the questions we all want to know. Thank you, Mark. Have a great day. You too, in Oz. We also would not have all these problems if the State House actually did the audit. Well, that's just you're right. That and so many other things. Speaking of which, Joe Espinola, that's running for Senate, you going to push for the audit, Joe?
Absolutely, 100%. There's absolutely no reason why that some sort of an audit that could satisfy everybody can be accomplished. It's just a matter of people sitting down at the table where politics today, it's something that just isn't done anymore. We've lost the touch of the Tip O'Neills and the Newt Gingriches and the Ted Kennedys. We've lost all that feeling, reaching across the aisle, getting things done for the people. Now it's a matter of, I don't think the Yankees and the Red Sox ever hated each other as much as the Democrats and the Republicans do right now. It's just absolutely filthy, sickening to the people out there in the public, and I'm finding it out as I'm going around knocking on doors. People are more disgusted with both parties than I thought.
Yeah, well, that's why it's refreshing to have Colin. We all get along. No, it's interesting because in the past, I've been on boards. There can be some fighting, but we've never had the bickering that you see now. It's just it's impossible for them to even work together. So I don't know how they're going to fix it, but I guess an audit would start. But
You fix it by electing a independent, unenrolled individual into the state.
Well, I guess maybe you're right. Do you think a third party is the way to go?
Well, there is a third party right now. It is the
Yeah.
independent unenrolled. In this first district alone, there is 72.7, I think, the last I counted. 72.7. Statewide, it's over 60%. I think it's at 64% unenrolled. And the last I knew, there was a ballot question that was going to make its way to make us a one-party state officially, just one party. The top three candidates run against each other, and the best person wins. No more Republican and Democrats. It is, if people understood what's going on with the Republican Democratic Party, is that I absolutely have no attachment to any party. I get no funding from anybody but regular, ordinary Tom, Dick, and Jane out there, $5 and $10 a bit. You have the last preliminary for the Democratic Party. Each candidate spent over $100,000. It is, and it's funny to me as you speak about that. Each candidate spent over $100,000 sending multiple mailers, killing many trees, but they're the Green Party. So I don't know how you can explain that. But there's a lot of money that's spent on politics, and there are conversations that need to be had. People out there on the street, they're hurting right now. And what's happening, and Colin can attest to this, and I've been bringing it up every chance I can, the state is up there taking money and spending it on things that we don't know about, and people have ideas of what it might be. It might be fraud, it might be waste, it might be abuse, it might be the shelters, the emergency shelters. It definitely is not on schools and municipal budgets, because we have the largest intake, the influx of capital. In the state of Massachusetts right now, the revenues are the highest they've ever been. The money going back to the cities and towns is the lowest it's been. It's not even kept up with inflation, and in some cases it's 5% less. And people are realizing it now because we're bringing it up, because the cities and towns are fighting over pennies compared to what the state is wasting. There's $100,000, $200,000 shortfall in every single budget across the state. I think there's going to be 53 potential overrides brought up at public meetings, town meetings this year. 53 overrides, and we're spending $3 billion on a whim last minute at the budget last year for the state with no questions asked. They just passed it, $3 billion, that's it. We're not going to give you any more. Wink, wink, until next year. The budget, it needs to be reined in. We got to start sharing the revenue from the marijuana industry. We got to start sharing the industry with casinos. We got to start sharing this money. The millionaires tax, but people are okay with the millionaires tax. They were promised that more money was going to go back to the towns and the municipalities and the schools. And that money has not shown up.
Never does.
But they have millions, that 1,000 million every single year on emergency shelter. Where was that money when there were just Americans that were homeless? Where was all that money? We had no money to feed our people. We had no money. When the SNAP benefits were threatened by the government, we had no money. $240 million would have taken care of it. Isn't that what the emergency the rainy day fund is for? It's just amazing to me that it's so blatant right now. They do it right out in the open, and people are paying attention to it, but they're not doing anything. people are just saying, you know what, I'll just go get another job and I won't go vote. But now this is the time. This year, we have to vote. We have to start. There are many, many people out there that want to change, and people like myself got to step up and do it. And I'm hearing, when I'm out there knocking, there are elected officials right now that are going to run for either the same office or a higher office at an independent way, because they're tired of the unenrolled. They're tired of the Democrat and the Republican fight. And the districts are becoming more purple. They're becoming unenrolled. So if you have a left-leaning representative that's elected, you're going to have to start leaning towards the middle if most of your people that are voting for you are unenrolled.
Well, I don't see it happening in Massachusetts. We don't. It's one of the few states that you don't have any Republicans representing you in Washington. Not one.
Exactly.
Even though you have a mixed vote.
And that needs to be looked at as well.
Well, if the Republicans do what they call gerrymandering. So
The problem.
I don't know. Massachusetts is just such a difficult thing. That frightens me, one party, because I just see it becoming a small group of people that make the decisions, and because that's what's happened with the Democratic Party. It's a small elite group that are running the party, and they're kicking everybody else to the curb.
And to that point, Linda, you know a lot of elected officials. Colin, you know a lot of elected officials. I know a lot of elected officials. John knows a lot of elected officials. I don't know why everything gets voted 100% one way, because we know these people. We know them directly. We grew up with them. We talk with them every day. We know they don't believe this, and they still vote for that. So I believe that they just need a little bit of love to pull them over to the side, to have some people on their side. Get a group of people together that say, hey, you know what, my people don't like this back home, but we are 100% voting for the same thing all the time. That's where we have a problem.
Well, they need a reality check.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, Colin had talked earlier that trying to get money from people, you're going to do an override X, Y, and Z. We just don't have the money any longer.
Right. Well, that's the problem with overrides, is that cities and towns can't get rich, right? It's not a business raising the fees so that the CEO can make more money. Overrides, in almost all the cases, are literally just to fund the services that people have become accustomed to. Again, I said earlier, Joe certainly just made the point even better than I did. If the state just spent the money they already have, then the services that people have come to expect from the city and town, because they're not getting it from the state, we'd be able to fund it. But overrides are, again, it's the state making cities and towns the bad guys to say, if you still want to have small class sizes, if you still want to have police officers, firefighters, then you need to do an override. Trash pickup. Yeah, I mean, how many towns have switched, Drake it did, to a trash fee?
Yeah.
Something you once had included in the municipal budget, now you're paying on top of it.
And
Again,
it just
it's
goes
all about
on and on
state
and on.
Now the town of Drake is threatening to take our
I
barrels.
saw that.
Yeah, that didn't go over too good. They thought the
Crazy.
trash fee was good. Wait till they try to take your barrels. I don't know. That's how crazy it got. But you look at the money. It's there. The money's there. What are we spending it on? It's just common sense. If you keep telling people that the color's blue, but people know it's not blue, it's red. They know it's red, and you're telling them it's blue. People see people that are ripping people off. They see the fraud and the abuse. I was on the show this past week, this same show, and I brought up a point. My retirement is, I have a limit. They took my job away from me. They mandated me 72% of my pay with a limited number of amount of money that I can make for the rest of my life. I can only make $61,000 a year. A person that lives in the shelter downtown Lowell, a family of 5, right? Mother and a father, 3 kids. They get $125,000 in free benefits from the state. I get $44,700, and it's in the paper. Everybody can see it. And I'm limited with how much I can make over that. But when you're getting free stuff, you have no limitations. You just get more free stuff. I know people that are able to apply for benefits. And you know what the stipulation is for you to apply for these benefits and qualify? That you get another free benefit. If you get another free benefit, you're entitled to this one.
Yeah.
And every year, I have to go down to the retirement board, and I have to bring a paper with me, and they have to notarize it to show that I'm living and breathing. I earned my pay. I was seriously injured, almost died. I have to show that I'm alive every single year. I have to prove that my kids are in school to get $1,400 a year. Because if they don't, they take it away from you. $1,400 a year. And we have people collecting their third generation grandmother. They're collecting their checks still. They're still living in housing that their grandparents died 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. They're still living in the house. No one's checked. It just doesn't make any sense. All these checks and balances are there. And I tell this story all the time. My dad passed away within a month. Within a month, the state already clawed back the 4 days he was alive in that month that they gave him in his paycheck. And all the credit cards told me that they were sorry for my father's death and they canceled all his cards, and I didn't call them. So if they know, now this was 10 years ago, if they know, why can't the state figure out that people are dead and stop giving them money?
Yeah, it is a problem. I haven't even heard of them. Tyngsborough is a community that its citizens have conservative values. That's the main reason. It's pretty.
I'll agree it's pretty. Pretty successful. I agree it's pretty and pretty successful.
If this state had an honest media, then maybe all the problems we have will disappear. That's a big problem with the fighting between parties. Absolutely. Great point, Mr. Espo. Unfortunately, in this crooked state, nepotism runs rampant. And then homeless overnight light a bridge on fire in Lawrence with piles and piles of junk. Does Tyngsborough post no trespassing under the bridges? I don't understand that.
They live under the bridges, there's no signage, cops can't do anything about it.
Our bridge is a little unique. There's not really, aside from the railroad track, which is still an active railroad track, there's not really much land under the bridge that people, there's no signs, but that's not been a problem. But you can't really get to under the bridge. The thing I would note on the state real quick is another simple solution is that cities and towns are subject to 2 laws that the legislature and the executive branch exempt themselves from: open meeting law. The select board, planning board, conservation commission, affordable housing trust, the housing authority, nobody can meet unless they post an agenda 48 hours in advance. You got to say where the meeting's going to be. I think that's a great law. People should know what government is doing. Doesn't apply to the legislature. The public records law. Anybody can request all of my emails. Please don't, it's a lot of work, but you could. You'd be very bored. You can't request emails from the legislature. They exempt themselves. The executive branch exempts itself. These are things, people want transparency, and when you're transparent, government runs a little bit easier because you get rid of some of the skepticism. If we just started there, then, and I think there's citizens...
That's a good point.
Or a ballot initiative for both.
There is one coming up for the public records, started by my friend Diana DeZoglio. She's piling on of that, who, again, I might add, if you guys haven't known, she announced that she was running yesterday in the midst of all of the other chaos that's going. She's going to be running for re-election. Good for her. That is one of the main things. When you're looking, people are looking right at the beast, and they're saying, where's all this money going? How much budget? 10 years ago, our budget has I think it's gone up 50%. So in 10 years, we've gone up 50%, and the money going back to the cities and towns has gone down.
That's shameful.
And they're expecting us to pay more. We're going to have to pay more. Colin will tell you, watch the city council meeting last night. They're already talking about at least a 5% increase. That doesn't even include the overrun that's going to happen with the school. We know that's going to happen, and it's coming. And so you have $1,000 million every single year to pay for people who didn't live in this country 30 days ago to have benefits, and they say they don't get health care. Well, somebody's paying for it because they get health care. They're in the emergency rooms. They might not have a card that says they can go to a doctor if they want to, but we're paying for their health care. And we're giving them education. We're providing them shelter. That's okay. That's over and above anything that is going on in the state. If we have the money for that, then why don't we have the money for our cities and towns so that we can feel comfortable? People are giving people, I talk about all the time, involved with many nonprofits, and from startup to where they are as big as they are today. You look at people, when they have nothing, they're still giving to these nonprofits. But when you are sitting and you're in the grocery store and you see people with their cart piling over with food, and you see them get into a Lexus, and you see them dress nicely, and then the person behind them in the line is deciding whether they're going to get dish detergent or bread for the week. And that same person is going to be asked to have their taxes raised so that they can pay for their kids to be in school. And it's just ridiculous. And it just came out the other day. Our 8th grade kids are like 30% lower than the rest of the world in reading. And what are we doing with all the money? Like, why aren't we concentrating on getting our kids in this country, people that are here now, including people who don't have documentation, because that's another problem we can deal with. The people that wait in line years and years and years without being able to be documented legally, waiting for the government to get off their butts and do something, that's ridiculous. But when people are here, you have homeless people from out of the country that are living here for 15 years. They get a job, they buy a house. They're not citizens. They have green cards. They're still waiting for the in line to get sworn in. I have a friend that actually just called me 2 days ago who's from Brazil, and he just got his papers. He's going to be sworn in as a citizen next month, and he wants to know if I would go there with him. And it took him 12 years. 12 years to get his papers. He owns a house. He has his kids in the school. He pays taxes. Why aren't we rewarding those people?
That whole system is broken. We know that.
And in the same token, if he was to make a mistake on his paperwork and he gets pulled over by ICE, they're going to deport him because his green card's expired or whatever, and he's got a house. I have a friend of mine, and John knows who he is from I grew up in Back Central here. He's been here for 45 years. He served in the Army for 8 years for the United States. He got in trouble with his taxes, paid his fine, did his time, and then when he went to visit his mom who was dying in Portugal, they deported him. And he's still not in this country. He lived there for 45 years. All his family, his wife is an American citizen. 45 years, and they deported him. And that was under the Obama administration.
How about the cleanup costs to the communities from homeless population? Bill Weld is rolling over in his grave. Well, now, we don't really have a problem. Do we have a problem in Tyngsborough?
With
homeless?
I mean, certainly we do encounter people. The thing, and we've talked about this on the show before when...
we don't seem to have the people at the lights anymore or anything.
No, and part of it is that there's, Tyngsborough's a small community. There's no services in Tyngsborough. And we've talked about on the show when former Mayor Rourke was on, even when current Mayor Gitcher was on, Lowell is where all the services are, so that's naturally where people end up. We certainly do encounter them from time to time, but we don't have nearly as many simply because they can't get any services in Tyngsborough.
Yeah, they bus them in something to the intersections. Now, talk to me about the schools. What is that? How are we set for? You said we have room in our schools.
Certainly, I mean, our new middle school, the MSBA requires that you build it. They do an analysis that I couldn't explain to you that projects your student population 10, 15, 20 years out. Statewide, student enrollment is dropping for a variety of reasons. People aren't having kids as quickly. Tyngsborough is unique. We've got 4 options for high schools. Our own, Greater Lowell, which is a great school, and we see enrollment from Tyngsborough go up there all the time.
I'm glad to hear that.
Innovation and the Academy of Notre Dame. So we have capacity. We I think this year they're seeing a slight increase in enrollment. In years past, it was a decrease.
Yes.
But we certainly have capacity. But we're looking, our fiscal year 27 budget right now stands at a $500,000 deficit compared to our neighbors. That's a very minor problem. We'll get to a balanced budget because we have to. But that's going to involve some tough decisions.
Why do the towns have to have a balanced budget and the state doesn't?
Because they make the rules.
Amen.
Which the rule does state they have to have it by July 1st.
Not that I don't want us to have a balanced budget. Yeah. I certainly do.
It's in the Constitution, Linda, that they have to have the budget by July 1st, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, it's just you're going to depress me too early in the morning. So anyway.
We have all day to rebound. That's the positive side. But yeah, so we have capacity. I mean, but we've got to make tough decisions this year to figure out how we get to a balanced budget, and we will. I mean, we're not talking about catastrophic layoffs because it's only $500,000, but these things compound. Next year, barring any dramatic new growth, right, we're still the same, you're limited to 2.5.
Yeah, we've been there for a while.
Yeah.
And the housing we built primarily was elderly, so you're not going to have children there.
Yeah, the select board met with the developer at the end of January that's looking to do a friendly 40B on Middlesex Road across from Roller Kingdom. Do you know where Page and Trahan have their real estate office?
Yeah.
Behind that, they've got all this land. They're proposing a friendly 40B because we're above our 10%, so we have some control. That would see another commercial building in the front matching their current office.
Yeah.
With 10 apartments up top, age
Yeah,
restricted,
I saw
55
that,
plus. And then 34 units, townhouse style, all rentals, all age restricted in the back.
Oh, my. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, location is great. It's on a state road, so minimal impact on local infrastructure. They did the Sherburne, the affordable development next to Toll Brothers, and I think
Yeah.
everyone agrees they did a fantastic job. And we talk about in our housing production plan and all of our conversations, seniors in Tyngsborough don't have a place to downsize to. We thought Toll Brothers would be that option, and then the cheapest one was 1.8 million.
Yeah. And
So-
they're right next to each other. You
Very
can reach-
tight, yeah.
You can reach into the next window and
Borrow
get a cup
some,
of sugar.
yeah, exactly.
Wow. Every time I go by them, I say, oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah,
But I guess that's what people want, so it's no different than having an apartment, really. They're that close. But that sounds reasonable.
that represents probably $150,000 in new growth. That's not a lot.
That area's been a problem from a conservation point of view, I know, up there. Now you have water and sewer going up through there.
Right,
It's a big plus for anything,
absolutely.
so. Even Roller Kingdom is better than it used to be. My grandchildren are there now, and I mean, it's improved a little bit.
I always loved the laser tag. I, of course, haven't been in many, many years because that'd be creepy if I had. But the laser tag was always the.
Yeah.
But the Skate 3 is packed constantly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's three ice rinks there.
Yeah.
So it's, and Dorian is back. Now he's going to be coaching in Tyngsborough. So he's come home
Very nice.
and brought the grandchildren skating. So that's
Oh,
wonderful.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it seems to do very well. Well, ice time is an amazing thing. So do we have anything else, issues in town? I don't think we do.
No issues. No, only good things.
We did have an unfortunate thing yesterday.
Yes, unfortunately.
And we had someone jump off the bridge.
I am well aware. That's what I do for a living. So
Unfortunately, onto the ice. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, so God bless him. Prayers go with his family or her family, and very unfortunate.
that's another thing that is.
People are depressed.
We have a problem in this state specifically, but mostly in the country. But in this state, in this area, the depression and mental health is out of control. That's the field that I work in right now, and I volunteer with vets and first responders. I'm licensed in several different things for first responders and veterans. Suicide prevention is one of them, and I'm a big advocate for that. Ed Kennedy was helping me in a number of bills that are up at the House right now, driving me to run as well to make sure that these bills don't stall. But mental health, when you look at the budget, so the state has a workforce development budget, and there's hundreds of billions for, say, construction, and then other hundreds of billions for development of just whatever it is. But then you go down the line, and it gets to mental health. They have $0 for professional development, not professional development, workforce development, and they've spent, I think it's $6 billion every year for the last 5 or 7 years, $6 billion, and the state has not turned